On January 3, 1991, at around 12:42 a.m., police received a call about a burning body in the playground of Sabado Park of Seaside City, California. It took police 32 years to finally put a name to the monster who was behind this atrocious act. Vicki Renee Johnson was born on 19 February 1956 to Tommy and Virginia Ruth Jackson and was the second of the three siblings. Johnson's family was very well known around the neighborhood. She was described as a studious and hard-working person. I went to school with her, Fairmount Junior High School, and she was a nice person. And I knew the family. It just seemed like just a beautiful, beautiful family, said Mark Vaughn, Renee's schoolmate. Vicki worked as a teaching aide at a local seaside preschool. Vicki was the mother of three children, one of whom is a famous basketball player, Orlando Johnson. On January 3, 1991, at around 12:42 a.m., police received a call which informed them about the burning body of a woman at Sabado Park on Darwin Street and Edge Place in Seaside City, California. They arrived at the scene and found a burned body laying in a sandbox. She endured a very brutal death right at this park. She was suffocated and strangled. She had a significant amount of sand that was lodged down her throat, as if her head had been held in the sand. She had bite marks along her body from the perpetrator and her clothes were torn, and she was set on fire. Her upper torso, part of her clothing, set on fire, said Seaside Police Chief. Police collected every bit of evidence they could find and scoured the whole expanse for any clue to the person behind this murder, but were unsuccessful in their bid. The body was taken to the coroner office and it was identified as 34 years old Vicki Renee Johnson. Vicki, before dying, had a scuffle with her killer which left some of his DNA in her nails. The DNA samples were collected and was saved for future use. Police started their investigation by interviewing her friends and family. Vicki's neighbors said that they were used to the shootings in the area, but never before that they had experienced something to this level. While discussing this case with media, a neighbor had this to say, "I never heard of nothing like this. Shootings and stuff, but nothing like this. It's sickening to get burned up like that. It's just so unfortunate that something like this would happen," said Mark Vaughn. While investigating, police wondered why there were no witnesses in this case. Police Chief Borges said, "Back then, nobody called, no one saw this. There's no witnesses to the scene. How is that even possible? That goes back to the culture that existed in this community, that it was such a scary, violent place, nobody would even call the police to tell us." Police had a potential suspect by the name of Joseph Dermontte Mitchell Jr., a known felon who in 1988 spent 4 years of his life behind bars for sexually assaulting a woman and beating her handicapped mother. When he was out of prison, he didn't mend his ways and continued assaulting women in the area. Police had their suspicions about Mitchell in Vicki's case, but he was never linked with the murder. Police was waiting for a credible lead which would solve this case, but it didn't come and the public interest in Vicki's case dwindled and it became cold. In 2021, investigators along with the Seaside Police Department began to study the cold cases from year 1991, in which Vicki's case was on top of the list. Police put the DNA evidence collected from Vicki's nails in codex and soon they had the name of the killer on their hands. Frank Louis McClure, who was 46 at the time of Vicki's death, had a long criminal history, which included battery, assault with a deadly weapon, domestic violence, and resisting arrest. In 2011, he went to prison for the charges of domestic violence and assault. He lived in the same neighborhood and was a drug addict just like Vicki, who in her last years began to indulge in drugs, and police thinks that maybe it was from there that she made contact with Louis, but they are not sure about the motive behind her killing. People from Louis's neighborhood couldn't wrap their head around the idea of Louis being Vicki's killer, as even though he wasn't a saint, but they never thought that he was capable of something like this. He had been to prison for assaults with deadly weapons and domestic violence against women, but nothing that rose to the level that would alarm or alert us that this guy would be engaged with murder, said Police Chief Nick Borges. when he was questioned why police didn't arrest him earlier. Frank Louis McClure died in 2021 at the age of 77, the same year when his name came to surface, and he didn't pay for what he did 32 years ago to a mother who left 3 innocent children in her wake. Though Vicki's case took 3 decades to be finally solved, but at least her family now have the closure they've been longing for. Her youngest son Orlando Johnson was 1 year old at the time of her death, and now he is in his 11th season of professional basketball. He had a very tragic beginning, lost his mother at the age of 1. 6 years after his mother's death, he lost his great-grandmother, his aunt and 2 cousins in a house fire. His grandmother, who was his primary caregiver, also died due to heart attack. 7 members of his family died between 1989 and 1995, and he was raised by his surviving half-brothers. On Mother's Day of 2019, Johnson shared the photos of his mother and grandmother on his Instagram account. In 2020, on his late mother's birthday, he posted photos that were later distributed by police to the news outlets to announce that her killer had been identified. The pro basketball player and his family were grateful after the update in 2021 and expressed their gratitude for police. He was very grateful and thanked us for not quitting and not forgetting, said Seaside Police Chief Nick Borges. Vicki Renee Johnson was laid to rest in Mission Memorial Park of Seaside City, California. As there are 30 more cold cases which are still waiting to be solved, Seaside Police is asking anyone with information about unsolved cold cases in the area to contact the department by calling at the number given on the screen. Thanks for watching. If you like this type of content, like this video, leave a comment behind. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed so you're never gonna miss any of the future uploads. Stay tuned for our next video. Until then, goodbye.